All right, welcome to episode 4 of Mind Over Emotions, the podcast. I got a special guest today. What's your name?
I'm Samantha.
Samantha what?
Yeah, Samantha Moore.
All right, how old are you?
I'm 41.
41.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Single?
No,
So you're in a committed relationship?
I'm in a committed relationship with
All
someone.
right, cool. How long have you been in a committed relationship?
About 7 months, 6-7 months.
All right. And so growing up, when you were growing up, did you grow up in a two-parent household?
Yes and no.
Oh, man, explain that.
My mom's been married 5 times.
5 times?
5 times. Mm-hmm.
All while you're alive?
Yeah.
All right, how was that?
Interesting. So sometimes it was just my mom, and
Okay.
then there was some dads. There was some dads sometimes.
Did
So,
you have
yeah.
any favorite dads?
Yes, I did actually. Her 4th husband was my favorite. He was probably the only one that was really like a dad to us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, did you have any ones you like just despise or hated?
Oh yeah.
Why'd you despise them?
My mom dated a lot of abusive men.
Okay.
Yeah, so they weren't my favorite people, obviously.
So you experienced abuse from these guys?
Mm-hmm.
And you can share if you want to, but you don't have to. Was that abuse physical or was it like mental, emotional,
All of it.
sexual?
All of it.
Sexual?
All of it.
Okay.
Yeah, all of it.
Can I ask what age it was?
From 3 to probably like 11.
And how did that affect you as a 3-year-old or even just like a young adolescent? How did that affect you?
It affected me quite a bit. I would say it's taken up until probably my mid to late 30s to recover mentally from everything, and years of therapy. So I have
okay.
I have complex PTSD from a lot of the experiences that I went through as a child and a teenager.
Okay,
So.
well, we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
All right, so let's start from the beginning.
Mhm.
What's your nationality?
I'm
Because I'm gonna tell you now, I couldn't figure it out.
No.
No, I
No?
thought like maybe you might just been like a white girl. Then I thought like maybe Italian or something. But I don't know. What are you?
Yeah, most people think I'm white passing for sure. I am half white, and then I'm Mexican and native.
Okay, you speak
Uh-huh.
Spanish?
Nope, not at all.
Oh man, you're not real.
No,
Don't you-
no, not at all.
All right.
When I get really drunk, sometimes.
All right,
I speak Spanish.
so which one is your mother?
Mexican and native.
Okay, and your dad is the white.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you grew up in like maybe like a Mexican or native culture.
Somewhat. My mom, there were certain things, that's the way she was raised. So certain things she would do and say around us that was very much associated with like Mexican household, because my grandfather was full. My grandmother spoke mostly native, but some Spanish, and my grandpa spoke native. And it's just, she grew up very Mexican. Native, we weren't really involved with our tribe. So the tribal stuff that I've grown up around was other tribes that we
Okay.
were like near reservations, and we would associate with them, or like when we moved here to Washington, very into the native culture here, like the coastal natives. But all of her husbands were white, so we tended to
So she has
be
a type.
involved. She has a type. The newest one is Mexican.
Okay.
Yeah, she went
And
back
this
to
is
her
this
roots.
number 5.
This is number 5. She went back to her roots. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna get back to that, but we talked about this before, or not me and you, but on the podcast about how I have a squirrel brain.
Okay.
So,
Same.
So with that, you said that number 4 was your favorite.
Yes.
So why is number 5 not your favorite?
I actually like him now. It took a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it took a little bit.
Was that because of the trauma you experienced with the other ones? It took you a bit to like kind of open up to him, maybe.
Kind of. He's a drinker,
Okay.
so I just it took me a while to get used to him. We get along really well now, but she married him, I want to say, within a year and a half or so after my 4th dad died. So he kind of weaseled his way in, so to say, pretty quickly after, and just kind of like disappeared with my mom.
Okay.
And so it took me a while to get used to him. So,
Are you the only child?
I'm the youngest of 3.
Youngest of 3.
Mhm.
Okay. So growing up for you, being the youngest, how was that?
Good, compared to the others. The oldest. In a Hispanic household, the oldest tends to take on a lot of the responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he also was a son, so he kind of couldn't do any wrong. and then I have an older sister, and then there was just kind of me. They always say when the younger one, like the parents are a little more lenient.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like to think that I had it a little easier.
You guys have a good relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You and your siblings.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
because I'll say this, and maybe some people might even get mad about it. I don't care. Because like honestly, for myself, like I have 6 siblings for my mom,
that's quite good.
and me and my brothers are the closest. And even then, with them, we don't even speak as much as I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of my adult life trying to build those relationships and bring the family together, but it didn't really stick. And I know for me that affected me because I look around at other families that have close knit families, and I'm just kind of like a little jealous because I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. So it's always intriguing to see, how siblings grow and how they build those relationships or those relationships fall out.
Yeah,
So,
I gotta say I get that. I mean, we were close. Me and my brother were extremely close most of my life. My sister not so much. She kind of was a loner, but I grew up, and then when I met my husband, I was married for 12 years,
okay.
and I got involved with his family. I realized how dysfunctional we really were. They're very close. They do a lot of things together, holidays, all the things and whatever, and we were never really, we didn't really associate with my extended family at all. It was just me, my brother, my sister, my mom, and whoever she was married to, and even then it was very strained and different. We didn't say I love you. We didn't really hug. We didn't do any of that. That's not how.
Do you think that not doing that kind of stuff affected you, like when it comes to like relationships and like expressing your love from you?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
You're probably not like an affectionate person, are you? Or you might be drastically the opposite actually because you didn't have it.
Like overcompensating?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I have issues with intimacy, like cuddling, hugging, things like that.
Issues like you don't like it, or issues like you.
I don't really do it.
Okay.
I will, once I'm really comfortable, but it takes quite a bit before I'm really comfortable.
Okay.
And I trust somebody enough to be intimate in that way. So my men, it starts off like you're my homie. like that, and that kind of friendship. There's a friendship building first. Yeah, always. Okay. But yeah, it's just not really my thing, and it never really has been. And it's definitely put strain in some of my relationships with people who are, who their love language is touch.
Yeah.
So
I think every man's love language is touch. I think I'm gonna speak for all men, and I think I love language is touch.
I think touch. I think hugging, holding hands, and stuff like that. And the other day, somebody mentioned to me that also includes sex.
Oh,
so
yeah,
sure. So I mean,
that's a given.
That's a thing. That's a given. But the other stuff, like the PDA and stuff like that, yeah. Once I'm really into somebody and I'm like sure and I'm locked in, I'll do all that, and I have no issue doing it. But it takes quite a bit to get there.
So you like PDA?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
I'm
not embarrassed. Let's put it that way. I'm not embarrassed. I just
I don't even think
I ain't gonna claim you like that unless it's for sure locked down and good.
Okay. I don't even know if for me like PDA is like it just depends on the circumstance, and like the situation. Like for instance, like PDA for me in the gym, it's a no go. It's not happening. I just feel like
focused.
Yeah, like I'm there. I see relationships. I was literally just talking about this the other day. I see relationships where they go to the gym together and like they're super like all over each other at the gym. I'm just like it kind of like makes my stomach
You don't think that's just like the new thing? Like when they're first starting out, they're gonna be all over each other no matter where they are.
But no, these people have like kids together and stuff. And I'm like, dude, like
they still love each other like that.
Like I don't even think that's love, man. Maybe it's because I don't know. For me, I feel like there's some insecurities somewhere. Like they got.
Like they're showing off.
Yeah, like they're like because it's like. For instance, like for me, like I don't need to like be all over you because if another guy's talking to you, that's fine. Some of these guys, and some of these women like out here, they get mad when their significant others talking to other guys. Like I've experienced that, like because as a guy and as a powerlifting coach and all that, like a lot of times, predominantly females are the ones who talk to me in the gym, and so I could never be with a woman who's jealous because it's like they're gonna talk to me. Mm-hmm. Most dudes have so much ego they don't want to ask another guy for info, and they damn sure not going to ask another female.
So based off this, let me ask you: so how do you look at the fact of men and women being platonic friends, and that's a possibility?
It's not possible.
You don't believe that's possible, even though you're saying this about trust. You don't think it's possible for men and women to be.
I didn't say that we were friends. I said that we had a conversation at the gym.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's not. Listen, any guy who calls you his friend, or any guy that you call your friend, and we can prove it if you want to. They're not your friend, platonic friend. They want to smash.
I'll have to completely agree to disagree on that.
Listen, because most guys, right? So, yeah, let me just back up. So, when it comes to guys, right, we're only friends with you because you made us friends. You friend zoned us, right? No, seriously, because the guy goes and approaches you, and you think he just approached you because he's like, oh, you seem nice, I want to be your friend. No, he didn't do that. He literally approached you because he sexualized you and said to you, he's like, oh, well, she's hot, and I'm speaking mainly for single men. They approached you because they thought that you were fuckable.
Attractive.
Okay, I'm speaking
in male terms. Okay.
Male terms.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Listen, that's what they thought. They thought like, oh, like, she can get it type thing,
Yeah.
And then you gave him friend vibes and you put him in a little friend bubble, and so he's just playing his role. But that's why I used to always tell people, you as a female,
played his role.
Yeah. So as a female, I always say this: as a female, you have your phone is like a fucking Rolodex, like a booty call Rolodex, because literally at night, you could literally one lonely night, you could just scroll through your phone and be like, and whoever it lands on, whatever guy it lands on, you could probably text him and be like, hey, like, you trying to come over? And it's a good chance that he's gonna say yeah.
So women hold the key, basically.
Definitely. So we gonna get into that. Women hold the key to sex for sure.
Okay.
Unless the guy's like a rapist or something.
Oh.
But we're not promoting that at all. So hopefully you're not dealing with those guys. But a guy who's not, and a guy who understands that how life works and relationships work and sex works, women hold the key to sex. But the problem with women is they forget that they hold the key to sex, and that men hold the key to relationships, right? So like,
interesting.
You want to go into this or not?
Go ahead. Finish that. I'm interested in what you say by that. Like, we hold the key to sex, but we give men the key to relationships.
You don't give us it. We hold it.
You hold the key to relationships.
Are you out here asking guys to date you?
Hell no.
Exactly.
I don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That guy, so basically, right? So when a guy approaches you and you guys start talking, and you're not going to just, you might have those guys where you just like have a wild night and you're like, oh, we're going to fuck tonight. But in general, like you said, you build up a friendship. So before you give him sex, he has to acquiesce his behaviors to get the sex from you, because every man, that's what they want, right?
Okay.
It's just natural. It's just, women want it too, but they just kind of for some reason act like they don't. But either way, that's most men. Like I said earlier, most men add you as a friend, or because they look at you and they say, oh, well, she's attractive, So men do what they have to do, acquiesce their behaviors to where they can have sex with you, right? And then as long as you don't put out, you hold the key to you guys' relationship, your friendship, right? That's why you guys say, like, once you have sex with a guy, you guys say, oh, well, he changed, or oh, he just wanted to have sex with you.
I've never said that, but I see what you're saying.
I'm speaking in general.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
I think I've heard it, maybe.
So after you guys have sex, this goes into where the guy holds the key, right? So you, like I said, you hold the key to the relationship as long as you haven't given him sex. Okay. As soon as you give him sex, now it's your turn to acquiesce your behaviors to get him to stay and get him to I guess you could say, for lack of better words, wife you up.
Okay.
Right? I'm guessing by the little smirk you don't agree.
No.
What's your opinion? Let's hear your take on it. Yeah?
I'm not a man, so I can't pretend to know how men think. Okay. But I don't know. I've had friends that I've been friends with since I was very young, that have never hit on me, never disrespected, never done that, never crossed that boundary, never will. And I'm friends with them, and it's completely platonic.
Are they straight or gay?
Straight. Some of them are married now,
Okay.
And they've been very good friends. There's friends that I've met online that I never saw their face, and we're friends, and we have good relationships.
But okay, so I will backtrack, not to cut you off, but I will backtrack and say this: if you guys were friends before, like, you guys even start thinking about that kind of thing, then that's different. I'm talking about like friends, like.
Do I think that at some point most men have thought about any female in their life? Would I hit it? Probably. I think that's not
problem.
illogical. It's not illogical to think that a man is not going to have that thought cross his mind at some point, you know. But I don't think that's all the intention behind it. I think men and women can definitely be platonic friends without anything more happening, and that it's a genuine friendship.
So let me ask you this: how many do you have a guy that you literally started being friends with in the last, like, let's just say, last couple of years?
Yeah.
You do? And you're strictly friends?
Strictly friends.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't believe.
He's married and everything.
That's
We're
different.
We met as coworkers first, and now he's like one of my best friends.
But that's different. You're talking about a married man who's committed to another woman. I'm talking about just a regular guy, like a guy who, like, you met at the gym or met, I mean, wherever, and he's single, and he's like, he's talking to you, and you guys decide to be friends.
Not in the past year or two, but I'm not very social.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say at least one. But I'm not super social. I'm not out meeting a bunch of people all the time.
Next time you get a chance, like one of these guys who slide into your DMs or something, just try to befriend them for like a week, right? And then just befriend them.
Do a test run.
Test
take
run.
Some notes.
Like, be a friend. No, seriously, be a friend with them and like just be super friendly. And just
I
be a
am
friend.
all the time with people.
And then watch. I guarantee you, one late night, just be like, after like maybe like 2 or 3 months of like being his friend, just one late night, just fuck with him and be like, hey, you know, you trying to come over? I guarantee you, he's
break
gonna come
someone's heart.
Hey, man, you know, women do that every day, man.
Oh God, no! I'm in a
time.
relationship. I don't know how that would go across. I mean, even just pretending to do something because I'm.
Well, I guess in that case, if you want to try it, I mean, like have him in on it. Like, look, this is strictly a trick.
This is me just testing the waters.
That's
my friend's theory. My friend's theory. Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't suggest that doing it. But no, for real, honestly, this is how it is. This is the way of life. Like the way it works. Like once you give it up, if you want that guy to stay, and you want that guy, I mean, you can sit here and argue that, well, I'm good enough at what I do, he'll stay. But that's not.
And if not, then oh well. Then
exactly.
Then oh well. I'm more of that mindset of I'm not going to bend over backwards being something I'm not to please somebody to get them to stay. If they're meant to be in my life, they're meant to be in my life. If it's for short term, small amount of, there's a lesson to be learned, and that's that. And if they're meant to stay, they'll stay.
Exactly.
And like you definitely need to, if you're not acting right, like, own your behavior and accept, own what you've done. If you don't do things properly, and you got to learn each other's boundaries. But I'm not going to bend over backwards and be somebody I'm not for somebody to stay. But I get what you're saying. Like, you got to adjust your behaviors for him or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Just like he has to adjust his behaviors. But back on topic.
Yeah, that's just so interesting. I a lot of men that I talk to when I've asked that question have the same outlook
because it's
as
the
you.
facts. It's
the
facts.
Same outlook as you.
Women, you gotta remember, women and men, we're not the same. We don't think the same.
No. Mars and Venus.
Yeah, you guys literally, when you guys approach dating and men, you guys look for quality men, right? Mm-hmm. Men look for quantity, right? That's why if you ever been on a dating app? Mm-hmm. Did you know that dating apps have a maximum likes that you can do in a day? Yeah, see, because you're a female. Every guy who's watching this will probably be like, yeah, they do. Literally, you can reach a limit to where it says you've reached your maximum likes for the day. You got to wait 24 hours before you can like another girl's profile. You didn't know that because you're a female, because you approach dating totally different, right? So the reason why is because when you look at a dating app, correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking at it, you could be turned off immediately from his photo. If he got like some fish or some shit in his photo, you could be like, yeah, nope, slide.
Shirtless photos is my thing. I don't do it if a guy's shirtless in his photos.
Why? What if he got like abs and stuff?
I don't matter how fine he is. It's an attitude that surrounds somebody out here showing off all their goods right off the bat that I'm like immediately turned off.
Yeah, but see, you guys will turn off, exactly. You guys will be turned off to a guy by the weirdest, craziest things because you're looking for a quality. You'll read his bio and be like, oh, like he has 3 kids? Nope. Oh, like he drives a freaking Honda Accord. Nope, that's a fuckboy.
Wow.
Like stuff like that. You guys just
everybody has their thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like you guys will do that. Guys, we don't even. That's why you ever had a guy reach out to you and like let's just say your bio says like looking for a serious relationship, and then the guy will literally like you, and then you'll spark up a conversation or respond, and then he'll strictly come out with something off the wall that doesn't line up with your bio, and then you be like, did you read the bio? Like, no, he didn't read it. No. He literally, like I told you earlier, he literally looked at the photo.
It's a numbers game for men.
He literally looked at the photo and was like, fuckable, not fuckable, fuckable. That's what they're doing.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, so
you put out enough lines, eventually something's gonna catch.
exactly, like
Yes.
you have to, because
Yes.
you guys literally are in control. So we have to literally just keep shooting our shot, and the more times we shoot the shot,
It's a numbers game, yeah.
Yeah,
The higher
you're-
chance you have of getting something.
exactly. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into all of that, but
Agreed.
back to high school.
Yeah, squirrel. No,
Well, that was a good squirrel,
It
man.
was a good squirrel.
I talked about it in my podcast before, episodes before, about getting a female on here to have these conversations, because two guys, we're gonna agree. We're gonna be like, the last guy I had on here, it took a second for him to understand. He didn't ever actually agree. He just kind of said, "I can see your point," right?
Yeah.
But I always wanted to have a female on here to have it. So you're like the
I'm
first.
very open about that stuff. I have no problem with my opinion.
Okay. So how was high school for you?
I was pretty quiet.
Quiet?
Yeah, most of my life I was pretty quiet. I had my set friends, and I just kind of did my thing, tried to make money.
How'd you try to make money? Selling drugs?
Amongst other things.
Oh man.
I was a bad kid.
Well, I know you were on OnlyFans. They ain't had that back then.
No, and I would never. I'm not. I was
about to
a
ask, too.
tomboy. I was a tomboy, baggy clothes, no makeup,
Okay.
like all the things. No, just focused on that and school and
Where'd you go to high school at?
Auburn High School.
So you're not from Auburn, because you said earlier that you
We moved here when I was in like 5th grade
Where'd you
from
move
California.
from? What part?
So I was born in San Jose. We
Okay.
lived in Oregon for a while. Then we lived in like Siskiyou County, which is Northern California along the border of Oregon. We lived in the mountains for a really long time. And then the end of 4th grade, we moved up here to Kapowison,
Okay.
Graham area, for like 2 months. And then we moved to Spanaway. And I lived in Spanaway until right before high school.
All right. NorCal.
NorCal?
Yeah. Man.
What area?
Stockton, but that's
Okay.
not home. That's not necessarily home for me. I claim it as home because I love Stockton. But I was actually born in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh,
Yeah.
Alaska. Okay.
Yeah, I know. My mom was here recently, and we were literally watching like some Alaska show, and she was like, "I need to go home." She lived there for 22 years. Then I grew up. I like to say I grew up majority of my time actually in North Carolina, but I spent a lot of time in California, and California is home for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first chance I got, I went back home because that's where it's home for me.
Yeah.
If I considered North Carolina to be home, I would have got it tattooed on me. But as you can see,
NorCal, right there.
NorCal is home for me. That's
Most of my family's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think NorCal is better than here?
I would always say yes before, and I always planned on moving back there eventually because I hate the cold and the rain. But I have definitely acclimated I'm a weird Pacific Northwesterner now, and it just is what it is. I go visit and I enjoy it. I debate moving back there, but it's so expensive. I'm just like,
It's expensive here.
Beautiful. It's beautiful here. It's more there.
I know, but I'm just saying, you find a way.
Yeah, I don't want to find a way. I want to be well off.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you graduate high school?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so that's interesting because you didn't graduate high school, but I know for a fact that you're a nurse.
Mm-hmm. I'm a
So
registered nurse.
How did that come about? How did you become a nurse and you didn't graduate high school?
Well, school was always important to me. I was never really a dumb kid. If I failed a class, it was because I didn't turn in the homework. If the class was based off of test scores and what you learned in class, I aced it.
Okay.
So I don't like doing the work. I just like, I know the subject. Yeah, this is what it is. But I ended up being a teen mom. I was teen pregnancy. I had my daughter when I was 17. When I told my mom I was pregnant, she was really upset. And she said I was too dumb I was dumb enough to get pregnant. I'm too dumb to graduate. She made me drop out of school and get a job.
Oh, wow. So it was your mom's idea for you to not finish high school.
But I got my GED like immediately.
What was her theory behind you dropping out of high school?
She literally said I was stupid enough to get pregnant. I wasn't smart enough to graduate high school. And she made me drop out.
How did that affect you mentally?
Oh, yeah. Horrible. Yeah, it was bad.
But obviously you kind of like got it together and...
Proved her wrong.
Okay, there we go. We could go with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I dropped out and I started working, and eventually I got married pretty young. I got married at 18, and then I went back to college in my 20s and started doing my prereqs for nursing because there's always going to be a job in nursing. I'm a very motherly person in general, tend to be a caretaker. What better career You know, I care about people, and I'm very passionate about women's health. So I figured eventually I'll be a midwife, and so I started going back to school. I went and caught up on some college level courses, and then did my prereqs. Went through a divorce and had to put off college for nursing until my mid 30s. So I actually restarted all of my career and working in my mid 30s, and became a nurse, and I did okay.
So as a single mom, I'm guessing you were a single mom. Was the father around when you were in high school?
Not for the first 4 years.
Okay. He around now?
He passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Do you mind sharing how you passed away?
Drinking and driving, car accident.
Okay.
Yep.
Damn.
He was, he said he wanted to be involved, but then he freaked out. He was a year younger than me. And you imagine being a teen parent, it's really scary.
I was a teen
right?
parent, right?
Yeah, okay. So remember how scary it was?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he was a year younger than me, so imagine he's a lot more scared than I was. So when he realized the reality of it, he freaked out. He wanted to focus on high school. He went to college. He took off to Haskell and went there and worked on, basketball in his college career. And eventually he came home, and he had a new girlfriend who was also pregnant. And he came to me. I was already married by then, and he said, I fucked up. Like, I'm looking at how hard it is being a parent now, and I imagine you did all that on your own. And we were how old? He's like, I'm sorry. And if you let me, I would love to be involved with my daughter's life. And so I did. And he spent 2 years getting really close with her and building a relationship with her, and then he died. Car accident. She was about 6 when he passed away.
How many kids do you have now?
I have 3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Just 2 dads, I'm guessing?
Yeah, 3.
3? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Are they involved in their lives?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I did have a question for you about that, because
Okay.
I'm guessing technically, I know you said you're in a committed relationship, but technically you'd be considered a single mom.
Yeah, I am.
How is it being a single mom?
It's hard.
Okay.
I'm mom and dad. I mean, I do have co-parents, but there's only so much co-parenting that can be done. You're still doing it all at home. I'm the man in the house and the woman in the house, and I'm the mom and the dad 5 days of the week, and on the weekends their dads are, I'd like to have them more involved on the other days of the week, and I can with one of them, but I have to set healthy boundaries with them about my life and their life, so it's a lot on your plate.
I have 2 questions for you. One of them's going to lead into a third question.
Okay.
But first, do you have all girls or?
I have all girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it a little easier.
Okay.
Second question is, why do you say that you're the man in the house? Because you could never be the man in the house.
Because there's gender roles in life. I mean, people are trying to erase that.
Yeah, it's
crazy. But traditionally there are gender roles. So when I was married, for the most part, when I was married, I took care of the house, and I made sure there was food on the table, and I made sure that the laundry was done. I made sure the kids were taken care of, the appointments were done. He took care of the bills and the work.
So that's what you mean by the man in the house. Okay,
I would say, and he would fix things, but he didn't fix things.
That's like a lost trait for us.
Yeah, but my second long-term relationship with my youngest one's dad, he did. He took care of the cars, he took care of the stuff around the house, and he took care of all that. But we, that one was a little more balanced because we both worked and took care of bills at that time.
Does your your significant other now a male?
Yes.
Okay. Does he take on those roles of the man now?
No.
Y'all don't live together?
No.
Hey.
Okay. It's only 6-7 months in. I don't even know if it'll go there, but we'll see. I don't like to make assumptions.
Okay.
I have children. I have girls, and I don't know if I would actually want to move a man into my house while my kids still live with me.
I can understand that because of how you grew up and the trauma you went with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly why.
But I guess that kind of goes back to, and this might trigger some people.
Okay.
But that kind of goes back to, we were talking about off camera about trust.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you be with a relationship with somebody who you didn't trust?
No, I trust him. I just don't feel like I'm ready to have someone move into my space and around my girls that much.
How old are they?
My oldest is 23, and then
Okay.
17, and then 9.
Okay, so I'm thinking that they're young, so I'm like, hold on, well, how long are you going to have them in this just limbo space?
He just recently met them for the first time last week.
Okay,
so.
How'd that go?
Well.
Well.
Yeah, well.
For them?
They seemed fine with it. I mean, they hear me on the phone with him all the time. They see his FaceTime. They know who he is.
How'd it go for you, though?
Oh, I was anxious.
I bet.
I was very anxious. Yeah.
But do you think that after meeting them that it kind of made your relationship take a step forward, or you think it kind of just like it's like whatever?
I don't know.
You guys didn't talk about it?
I mentioned to him because I didn't even be like, oh, this is so and so. I didn't do proper introductions.
Was it one of those things where
it was like we met up at my brother's house for something, and I had my kids with me, and he met them, and they said hi. They said hi. But it wasn't like a proper introduction. It was just they were around each other. There was some conversation that was had, and they were just chill with each other. And then they said bye, and he was like, bye, girls, and whatever. I'll see you soon.
So they know that this is the guy you're dealing with, though?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do. But I was just kind of like, I'm sorry I wasn't, because I'm pretty proper about certain things. I wasn't really good about introducing you guys properly. I was nervous. It wasn't really planned.
Okay.
And it happened that way. But I trust him to be around my kids for sure.
Oh, that's good. Now, my other question for you is, as a single mom, what kind of like support system do you think that is like ideal for a single mom to survive and to thrive?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I think it is important to have a support system, good friends, family, people who are there when you have your hard days, when you're sick, when you are struggling through things, to kind of like remind you, maybe be your cheerleader or help out. Like if you have to work and the kids are sick and you can't miss those bills, to be able to pick them up sick from school or do whatever, or maybe even their fathers be involved to be able to do that. I think it's very important, because otherwise you're doing it all on your own. You're missing out on things. You're going to struggle, and you're going to be locked into the system without that support system.
So you know the term where they say like it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, to raise a healthy child for sure.
What does your village encompass?
It's the young woman that I brought today.
Who would not be on camera, mind you?
I know.
Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll have her on. Maybe she'll be like.
I didn't always have much of a support system. I actually wasn't in speaking terms with my family for about 9 years. So through the whole pregnancy and the life of my youngest, I didn't have family.
Okay. So, is she your only support system, or do you have like other people who?
I have other friends. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. You know that whole blood is thicker than water. You know that's not the full quote. You know,
I don't think that's true at all.
No, well, blood is thicker than water. People take it as like your family's more important, but it's like blood is thicker than the water of the covenant. It's like this longer quote, basically saying that the family you build is more important. People reverse it.
I find that to be super true, because I struggled for a while. I remember earlier I was telling you about how, like, with my siblings, how we're not as tight as we wanted to be, right? Or I would love for them to be, but like. I sit back sometimes and I see them with their friends, and like, they seem like you would never know. Sometimes it looks from the outside looking out like you would never know that we were siblings. You would think that these were their family because they're closer to them. And then even with me, like the people who see me post like, oh, this is my brother or this is my sister, and they think that that's my actual brother or sister because they never see the actual blood ones. So I truly believe that your family is who you make it, and who you guys both put effort into be that family. You're born into a family, but that doesn't always mean that that's your actual, just your only family.
Yeah, I agree.
So I totally agree with that. All right, so as we know, this podcast is about mental health, so now we're about to dive into that.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So when did mental health become important to you? Like what triggered that to? I know you went through the trauma you went through as a kid. Was it then that you were open to mental health, or was it later on in life?
Oh God, no. I don't even think I realized how much damage was done. I just.
When did you realize it?
Probably my 20s, and I didn't really take it serious till almost until my 30s, until my divorce.
What made you realize it though?
I had a mental breakdown when I went through a divorce.
All right.
Yeah. So.
And did
trust.
you trust? Mm-hmm. I was about to ask. So what happened in that divorce that caused you guys to divorce?
He cheated.
Oh man. Was it a physical cheat or like one of those like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a very understanding person. I'm very open. I understand that people are human and people make mistakes, and I have no issue. The man respected me, loved me, took good care of me, never raised his voice, didn't cuss at me, didn't call me names. He was a very sweet man, right? So even if things were hard and things will be hard in marriage. I think people have a reality that's really wrong when they think that marriage is supposed to always be perfect. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. That's life. That's life in general. So your marriage will too. But I would have stuck by that man till the end. Loyalty is the biggest thing to me. Loyalty and trust. I couldn't trust anybody else in my life up till that point, until I met that man. And I didn't trust anybody else in my life because the people, that's based off the trauma, because the people that were taking care of you as a kid and helping develop you, you couldn't even trust to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So it causes issues with trust as an adult, and in relationships it causes anxious or different kinds of attachment in your relationships and affects it. So I found peace in my marriage, and then when that happened, it kind of broke me, and then I was like, if I can't trust him, I can't trust nobody.
Yeah.
I quit talking to friends, family, like even my best friends who have never done anything wrong. I'm like, for all I know, you could be lying to me right now. Like I lost it.
Everyone's cheating on me.
Everybody's a liar. Yes, it really did. And my doctor's like, I think you're having a mental breakdown. I'm like, yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
And then I realized that my mental health was really important, and it took me a while to actually get into therapy because it's not always easy to get access. I wasn't rich. I was a stay-at-home wife for 8 years. I had to pick up 3 jobs to afford to take care of my kids. You don't always have the time to. You don't even know where to start because we grew up poor. We don't mental health anything in my family. We're Mexican. You cowboy up. Throw some dirt on that cut and move on.
We literally spoke about that on the last guy on here. He was part Dominican, and we spoke about that, like about how
culturally,
they don't like to address that because they look at it like a sign of weakness and stuff like that. So that's just kind of always interesting.
And now that I've gone through mental health, I kind of find some quality in it too, because you learn to process your emotions and recognize and move through your stuff and deal with it. But at the same time, in the end, you're learning to deal with it so you can dust it off and move forward and not let the stuff affect you, right? Which is basically what we were being taught in a more toxic way.
Yeah.
So you end up back at square one in a little bit, except for I learned to recognize my emotions and understand why I'm having them. And
you
most
learned that
of
in
the
therapy?
time. Yeah. Yeah.
So with therapy, did you only see one therapist?
Basically, yes. I had therapy when I was young after the abuse had ended. I was put into therapy. I think it was required by court and stuff like that. But I didn't really learn anything. I just sat there. And played with their dolls.
what was like the biggest takeaway that you had from therapy, like as an adult?
I think recognizing your emotions and understanding that anger is a secondary emotion. I always say that to people. I think that was really important because I had a lot of anger from everything before. And I have, like I said, complex PTSD. So I get like flashbacks and nightmares and physical symptoms that happen when things trigger memories. And I've learned to recognize what's going on and calm myself so that I don't react based off completely emotion and I react more off logic.
Were you clinically diagnosed with this PTSD?
Yes, I've been clinically diagnosed with major depressive disorder, anxiety, and complex PTSD.
When did you get diagnosed with that?
In my 30s.
Your 30s?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to did they diagnose you any kind of medicine or anything?
I did see a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So the psychiatrists do medications.
Okay.
And I did try, and I've tried depression medication for years because the doctors knew I had depression for a very long time.
Did you find that those medicines kind of made you more depressed?
No.
I've heard stories about people taking those and it's like they feel worse. Like in the beginning they feel okay with them and then eventually they feel kind of worse and it makes them like...
I didn't like them.
Why not?
I get headaches with them.
Okay.
And they numb you. And
when you
did
you tell your doctor about that?
Oh yeah. I'm very open with my psychiatrist about it, about how it was affecting me, and we would try new ones and different things. But I have health conditions too that different medications can affect, and so they had to navigate through it. But I did try them. I do recommend them for people who need them, but for me it didn't work well. And the numbing wasn't the greatest thing. It was good when I was going through these really low lows, because suicidal ideation and all of those things are very real.
Correct.
And so you don't ever really get that low, but you also don't have any highs, right?
Interesting.
There was numbness. Nothing really excited me. Nothing really made me happy. I was just existing. And that was good for now. At least I could function, right? But it just didn't, that's not a reality for me to live life that way.
So if medicine didn't work, And you went to therapy. What has helped you?
Therapy made a big difference.
Just
My
talking
support
about-
system, my friends, having people to call when I'm in those low places to remind me, what I always tell people is when you're in those low lows, it's temporary. It's always temporary. All those feelings are temporary. They always pass.
Yeah.
They never sit with you. You don't sit in that space 24/7 your whole life. It passes. So when you get to that point of low where you're like, I don't see the point. I don't want to be here. I don't want this. Know that, just remind yourself, I've been this low before and I made it through and it passes. And eventually it's going to be better again. And I've lived through some really horrible, crazy stuff and I've been okay. So I remind myself as well, like, it's been worse. I've been worse than this. I've been really low and I've made it back.
During those lows, did you ever experience like thoughts of like suicide or anything?
Oh, I've attempted twice in my life. So yeah,
you're a survivor.
definitely. Yeah.
May I ask how you attempted?
Pills.
Pills?
I'm a woman. They say there's a difference between the way women and men do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Women
You
seem to do silent things.
Men
to do physical things.
Yeah, like to make a standpoint.
It's like if I'm gonna do it right, and men just, right?
Well,
What we see.
I'm grateful that a lot of people don't do it right. They do it wrong and they're still here.
Yes, agreed.
Because pills is like one of those things where once you take them, you can't really go back from it unless you figure out a way to make yourself throw up or somebody catches you early enough. So.
Or you took the wrong thing, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you take a whole bunch of vitamins and.
Oh, an accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So, nowadays, since you're a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
you're a single mom,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a committed relationship,
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, you are in a committed. Sorry about that. You're in a committed relationship. What kind of like stresses as a woman do you have, like in life?
I think just the same as most adults. I don't know if it's necessarily as a woman. It's
Well, men
just
and
what-
women have different stressors. Like we
Yeah.
definitely have different stressors. We have different
It's the
things.
adult stuff. It's the economy is crap and the price of everything is going up, but the pay isn't. And you have mouths to feed and bodies to clothe and bills to pay. And are you saving enough for your retirement? Are you saving enough for the rainy day? And
Well, I
being a
guess
single person household, like I feel like that is a big stressor. Also, for me, moving forward in my goals, because I didn't for so long when I was younger, and now that I'm older, I'm like, I want to meet all these goals that I always wanted to do that I didn't.
Well, I think the question I'm trying to ask you is, what kind of stressors do you have that you can control, that you just aren't maybe struggling to control those outcomes?
You can't really control anything.
You don't think so?
There's some things. I mean, your health. There's only so much of that you can control because there's genetic components. Your parenting,
Okay.
but
You can
even
control that?
but in some ways you can't. Like you can be a present parent who listens to your child.
Okay.
And even then, they are going to be who they are going to be.
Well, yeah, for sure.
There's no handbook. There's
But-
no right or wrong.
But at the same time, there's no right and wrong, but there's your way of parenting. There's a way you learn to parent. There's the way that you were parented and you adapted and learned from that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean from that is like when you become a parent, you have a way that you want to raise your child, right? And then at some point throughout that, you kind of like, a lot of times we drift from that and we kind of like adapt these other types of parenting that we don't really, sometimes as a parent you'd be like, why am I doing this? Or why am I punishing my kid for this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever think like that? No? You just
Maybe.
you
Why am I doing this? Maybe not. Why am I punishing? I know exactly why I'm punishing.
No, I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, as a parent, it's definitely difficult. It's definitely.
I mean, like you have a guideline and a goal when you set out and you have your child, and then there's the reality of it.
Correct.
And what you have to adjust to the reality of being a parent. That just because this is your ideal way of what you thought, that's just not life. And that's not how it is being a parent. Yeah, definitely. There's that.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people who they start out, and I think a big issue with parenting is these kids that are having kids, and they're like, well, I'm not gonna, like, for instance, I'm not gonna spank my kid, or I'm not gonna do that because my mom spanked me. And I always look at them and I'm like, I mean,
I'm a spanker.
you should be.
Not my youngest. My youngest, I think she's gotten spanked once.
But does she deserve to be spanked? To be honest, literally think about it. Does she do anything? Oh no.
they're besties, her and my youngest, sorry. And they be arguing with each
Watch
other.
what you
They
say
be
about my
arguing
best
with
friend
it.
now.
They be arguing. For the most part, no. What I consider a reason to be spanking my kid for when I was a young, strict mom compared to now being older, chill, and like, it's just not that big of a deal. And I think it's my mindset being older that, is it really that big of a deal? As long as my daughter's being respectful, she's learning what she needs to learn, she's healthy, you know, I don't need to be like this authoritative. I used to be very authoritative in the style of parenting, and not so much now.
Now, so. I'll tell you this, coming from a guy or a kid who grew up in a big family, right? So like even my mom, like she changed how she parented, you know, like
to the youngest, yeah.
Like when we're kids, we used to always joke about, you know, like how my mom would do smack buys or something like that, you know. Like just,
smack buy? What's it? Wait, what's a smack buy? Explain this. What's a smack buy?
She's gonna get mad for this, but
okay.
She probably, I never did that. Yes, she did. She would literally slap all of us in one slap.
Like ta 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 ta.
Yeah, like, you know, because you figure the older three were all like pretty much like a year apart, right? So it's like, you know, like right there, right? But I didn't find no issue with that. But as kids got older, like, you know, like when my youngest brother on down, like she started being way more lenient, like, you know, like, way more lenient. And I know for us, like we would sit there and we were like, man, like what the hell, like. You know, like for instance, we were cuss and stuff like that, but not at home. You crazy?
Yeah.
Get slapped. But then I seen like my brother, like he'll cuss at home, and my little sisters, like they be saying wild stuff, and I'm just looking at like.
Your mom's not doing anything.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I get it, like, you know, you gotta get with the times, you know, and at some points, like it's not that big. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. You rather them be comfortable around you, so you can kind of learn the traits of who your child is, so that way when they're in the streets, you know, like, did they really actually do that? No. You know your child. You know.
Yeah.
What I mean? And it builds. I get it. It builds a relationship with you and your child to where you guys, they feel more open with you. They're not more scared of you.
Yeah.
And so I get that, but
I think every child is different, so you're gonna have to parent them different.
For sure, I spoke about
person.
that earlier in one of my podcasts. Spoke about that. You know, parenting. You know, when I wasn't a parent, and I used to look at my stepdad and my mom, and I used to be like, man, they're stupid. You know, like. This is unfair. Yeah.
Of course they are. We're all, as parents, especially when your kids hit teenage until like mid-adult, like mid-20s, we're the stupidest people in the world. My daughter's turning 24 this year, and now she says things to me like, you know, I never really realized this. You used to say this to me, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, wow, it makes sense. When before that, it was like, you don't know what you're talking about, Mom. You don't know this, you don't know that. Like, we look at them that way.
Yeah, because like I used to look at my mom, like I said, I used to be like, man, they're crazy, man. Like, it makes no sense. But then, like, I catch myself. I think we all do this. Kids. We catch ourselves when we have kids doing the same thing our parents did. So it is what it is.
I don't like that sometimes. I am friends. My brother is way older than me. He's like 6 years older, and I'm friends with some of his friends. And we were having a conversation recently, and I did something, and he called me my mom's name. He's like, "Your mom used to do that all the time when you were in high school." And I'm like. Like, oh crap, you're right.
So
we do. We pick up stuff from our parents.
So a question for you: when it came to like the stuff that you struggled with, like your mental health struggles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know you said you didn't like medicine; that didn't really work for you. Therapy worked for you. Did you ever try anything outside of like therapy? Like, you know, like did you ever like self-medicate or?
Oh God, yeah.
That drugs.
Like alcohol.
Okay.
Like my divorce. I drank a lot after my divorce, more than I ever did in my life, and I realized it pretty quickly on. I remember because we still lived together for a while after the separation, like good 8 months at least. Oh, you
were separated but living together
in the same house, and it was hard. No, we were separate. We slept in separate rooms, separate beds, couch, bed, whatever. But
never.
But it was hard. It was really hard.
I bet.
And so like when he was home and I'd give him the kids and I'd leave. I'd go sleep at his cousin's house sometimes. Because we were really close. I actually lived there for like 3 months at one point because it was too difficult. Because I had asked family, can I move in with you? Because when I'm there, I leave and then I'm not seeing my kids. Yeah. And I would go get drunk because I didn't want to deal with the emotions. It was to numb myself. And I was like, and I don't feel that it's healthy. I feel like my body's really rejecting it. I feel sick a lot. I'm drinking too much. And I know it's because I have to see him every day.
You recognize that on your own?
Yeah.
Or did like people around you?
No, nobody said it. I mean, no. We were all in our like late 20s, early 30s. Everybody was drinking and drinking it.
For sure.
You know?
What was your favorite drink?
Me? my ex-husband is Laos, so I drink a lot of Hennessy with his family.
Okay.
Not my favorite.
Yeah, a funny thing about Hennessy, right? So
Uh-huh.
they always say that Hennessy, like I hear people all the time say, like, think that black people drink Hennessy a lot. I've learned that Hennessy is definitely an Asian drink. I'm serious, man. Especially
Yeah.
to all my Cambodian subscribers,
Yeah.
you guys need
Yeah.
to find another drink. I done went to some parties with some my Cambodian friends, and I mean,
It's
they're
Hennessy and
like, they're like
Remy,
Hennessy,
some Remy.
Hennessy,
Yeah.
like they're just constantly like, and it's just like, how are you doing this? You know, like because Hennessy. I kind of like when I got older to drink, I heard that a lot that black people drink Hennessy, so I kind of like try to like make myself drink it, but I'm not.
You're like, I'm black, I'm gonna drink it.
Yeah, and I used to try. I ain't gonna lie, I used to lie to people, and I was like, yeah, I love Hennessy, and then they give me the shot, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm not a Hennessy drinker.
You made the face. Did you see me make a face? Because I was remembering.
Yeah, no.
No.
Let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you. So off camera, guys, we took a shot. I gave her a shot of coconut rum. Chocolate coconut rum, and she drank it. She smelled it first, and she drank it, and she's like, "Oh, it's sweet." But then I pulled this out, and she smelled it, and her exact words were, "It makes me moist."
I said my mouth watered.
Water. Something along those lines. I knew it was something about wet. But
I was like, it just made my mouth water when I said it.
There we
Because
go.
I like whiskey and bourbon.
I knew it was something crazy, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Did
Like,
not say that.
it was something. I was like, what the hell?
Oh,
but
God.
Either way, yeah. So that's interesting. No, I was just always curious about how people cope with things because I mean, we cope with things obviously when we go to therapy, which is great. But then we also have our extracurricular ways that we cope with things. Because I spoke about multiple times about how I really kind of got like lost myself in smoking weed, you know, because you know, I kind of like make you forget for that second, you know, like about what you're going through. And I would literally smoke a blunt. It got so bad sometimes that I would smoke a blunt and forget that I just smoked.
And
smoke another one, and it was just like back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And I actually had to kind of like just realize, like, you know, luckily, I think God blessed me with the job I have now to where I had to quit because it was, you know, I don't think that weed could be a problem really because, I mean, you're just getting high and you're just kind of numb. Unless you're one of those lazy people. I was a fully functioning pothead.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. There's lazy, fully functioning.
Yeah.
You don't really hear too often about people getting stoned and stabbing people.
Yeah.
Like other drugs and alcohol.
That's
you know
weird
what I mean?
if you do that, yeah.
Yeah, that was just you anyway.
Yeah.
That happens.
I kind of like got, I kind of just kind of like realized like it's becoming a dependency for me. Like I literally to eat, to sleep.
And you realized that on your own.
Yeah, I used to get in my car and you know how like people who smoke cigarettes, like they get in their car and every time they get in their car they gotta smoke a cigarette? That was me. Like I would literally be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the store. I'm rolling a blunt just to go to the store. One to go to the store and one to come back home from the store.
Wow.
And I realized that like everything I'm doing, like we'll go to the bowling alley because we go bowling every Friday. That's for my mental health as well. And like me and my brother, we would literally get to pull up to the bowling alley. Everybody knew this. Like even the people who didn't smoke and they was with us, they knew. We'd get there, you know, we'd probably be late, but they knew they had to wait because we get there, we get our lane, and we get all our stuff out there. We wouldn't even put our bowling shoes on. We wouldn't unload our balls.
Went back out.
We went back outside, and we'd be out there smoking no matter how cold, raining, or whatever. We'd be out there smoking, and then like in between games, we'd go smoke, and it just became a thing. Like, and I didn't think it was really a problem, but I realized like I'm not able to do anything in life without, you know, and I realized I caught myself saying this a couple times, and I think that's what really kind of like got me was I caught myself saying I prefer to live life high versus sober.
Did you even remember what it was like to do things sober?
No, because when I would be sober, I didn't like it. Like it made me think about all the stuff that I was going through and that I was, you know, trying to like heal from, and I didn't like it. So I think that, like I said, I think God blessed me with this job to where when I first started my job, I could smoke weed, and then they, you know, they made it to where we can't, and so I was forced to choose. And I always said to people, I said, if what you're doing is affecting your money, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a choice to make: to be a hypocrite and quit my job because I like smoking weed, or say, hey, you know, make this money and quit smoking weed. And it was kind of an easy choice, but then I'm not gonna lie, the first week of doing it was easy to quit. It wasn't like a thing where I had to like kind of like go to rehab or like really focus on it. I kind of like, when they told me it was gonna cost me my job, I really kind of had a conversation driving home, and I told myself, I said, wow, I just bought a lot of weed.
You just bought a lot of weed?
And, no, for real, I just bought a lot of weed. I actually have some of it still over there. I haven't smoked since July of last year. So I really kind of came home, and my plan was, okay, well, they just did a drug test. They're not going to do one for another 3 months. So I'm going to smoke all this weed up. And then I changed that, and I said, well, tonight I'm going to smoke 4 blunts, and I'm just going to, like, done, right? I think I smoked, like, one, and I felt guilty because I was like, I need to be detoxing. They told us 3 months, but it could really be, like, tomorrow, right? And then the next drug test, they from our company, they drug tested 2 people. Who do you think the first person was they drug tested? Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, I walked into that drug test because I did a couple other jobs before, and I was like, man, if they drug test, I'm just gonna have to tell them straight up, like, I'm not passing this. Like, I had lost a job earlier last year for that. You know, some stupid stuff happened, and I didn't even do anything, but they wanted to drug test me for it, and I lost a job. And so when they called me, they were like, hey, when you come in, you gotta go see the office. I was like, I remember I called my coworker, and I was like, I think they're about to drug test me. I was like, but I'm happy. And she was like, why? I was like, because I know for a fact I'm passing this. And I knew they were trying to catch me because they knew that I smoked weed. Like, I was very open about it, you know. Yeah. And so I walked
it's in Washington there. State.
Yeah, and I walked in there, and I said, the guy was like, I was like, is this a drug test? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, go ahead. I was like, I actually got to go to the bathroom right now. I said, we can do it. I'm going to pass. And he looks at me, he goes, oh, you're confident. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm hella confident. And I straight up told him, I was like, I haven't smoked weed since July. And he looked at me, he was like, I was like, no. I was like, it doesn't matter what I did before. You're not going to catch me now. So yeah, it's always just curious how people cope with mental health, you know. So that was my way, and you did alcohol or whatever.
I did alcohol, yeah.
You ever tried any other drugs like smoking weed or anything?
Oh, yeah, I was a pothead before my first daughter. I smoked all the time, and that was my way of coping as a teenager. Getting out of my head. I had a lot of anxiety as a teenager. I didn't even know what anxiety was. I just always felt like I was about to be in trouble for something. That feeling like, oh shit, you know, I'm like heading home from school. I didn't do anything wrong, and I just remember thinking I'm going to go home and be in trouble. That feeling, that anxiousness. I didn't know what it was. Nobody had described it to me before. And I lived my life like a lot of days like that. So I was always stoned.
You spoke about that. Growing up, did you think that, did you hear a lot of people talk about, like, other kids and stuff, talk about, like, being depressed, having anxiety? Was that, like, a thing in your school?
Not in the way it is now.
That's what I was getting at, because I noticed when we had, like, I talked about this a couple times, too. You know, growing up, we had those couple people who, we didn't even know they had, like, depression or nothing, but they wear, like, those trench coats, and we would stereotype them and be like, oh, they're gonna probably blow the school up or something. That's the only kind of problems we've seen with kids.
Yeah, we would see that when we were in high school. Remember, there was Columbine was the first big one or something like that? Yeah.
But nowadays, it's like kids, like, the first thing they say to you is like, oh, I'm depressed, or, oh, why do you think that is?
I think some of the kids definitely do have depression. I think there's a fad behind things as well.
Yeah,
and sure. I think that's just the way it is. But maybe also that there was a lot more depression associated with being a teenager than people realized. And now kids feel open about talking about it. I think there's definitely people who just kind of go with it. And then I think that there's a lot more depression than people realized. Being a teenager is hard. You have all these hormones surging through you with all these brand new emotions you never felt before. A lot of things you don't understand about your body. A lot of things you don't understand about socializing. All kinds of new ways to socialize. You adding sex into the mix. You're adding new kind of dynamics with your friendships. And then, your parents all of a sudden become idiots, and you're dealing with that. They don't understand anything, and before it was never okay to talk about.
Yeah.
And now it is. And like I said, growing up, I didn't even realize what I had because I didn't know what to call it. I'd never even heard of anxiety before.
So as a single, or not necessarily a single mom, but as a mom, what kind of things do you do to kind of like make yourself available for your kids?
Oh, I'm obnoxious with my kids. So I have a teenager, and she's very loner type, and she's very happy doing that. She likes her alone time. She likes her space, and she's been that way since she was pretty young. I mean, she socializes a lot with me and her sisters, her dad, her cousins, but outside of that, she has like a very small amount of friends, and she prefers it that way. And she's one of those people that's okay with it.
Okay.
But I used to be concerned about depression with her because a lot of those things that she would do, like hide in her room for long periods of time and not come out, I thought she could have depression, and I'd sit down and ask her, are you depressed? Do you ever have these feelings? Do you ever think this way? And I would ask her, and she's like, no, Mom, I'm fine. And then they talked about it at school, and she's like, remember that stuff you were talking to me about like last month? Look. And she brought home like a chart.
Okay.
And she's like, I see what you mean, how those are symptoms of depression, but I'm fine. I'm happy. But like, because I went through what I did as a teen, and because I had such massive depression and anxiety and realized as an adult, I make it a real point to talk to my kids about it and be obnoxious. And if they're not comfortable talking about it, I kind of push it anyway. I'm like, I know it's not the most comfortable conversation, but like, just understand I'm doing this for a reason. I want you to be able to tell me. And I was like, and if you ever think I'm going to be mad, tell me anyway. I was like, if you're coming to me to talk to me about it, I'm going to chill out about it. I was like, I might yell later. We'll see what you're doing. I'm like, but I will just be like, Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay calm, and I'll chill out. You can just talk to me. And I was like, and if not me, you have aunties. And I've told them, if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, you can go to them. And I do have friends, they're aunties, that they can go to. And I've made that very clear. Mental health is hugely important to me, especially with daughters. So.
Well, in their closing, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
One, I think you kind of know where it was coming.
Okay.
But the first one is when it comes to like women who are single moms and just kind of going through life that might be experiencing, like any kind of like mental health issues or suicide or anything like that. What would be your advice to them?
That's hard because you never know what they're going through. It's so unique in each situation, but if you're a single mom, just remember your decisions affect your children and people outside of you. My children are my strength when I'm having those dark points, and to remember that it's all temporary. That's the biggest thing that I was saying earlier, is that those emotions are temporary and they go away. And it may take a minute, but it'll go away, and you don't have to live in that dark spot. It's gonna pass. And you're more capable than you probably think.
All right, and the second one is going to be the controversial one. You ready?
Okay. Let me take some drink of my water. Controversial.
All right. So in the beginning, the first episode, at the end of it, off camera, I asked you ladies, in your opinion, do you think that body count matters? Mm-hmm. And I asked, hold on before you answer. I asked on the second episode, I asked a guy. Did you watch the episode?
I didn't watch all of it. Was that the end of the show question?
At the very end of it,
I'm gonna watch it.
I asked him the question, and he said, I proposed a question to him of if a woman had 20 bodies, does that matter to him? And he said, most definitely. He said the relationship won't last more than a year. Mm-hmm. So, same question to you. If a guy has 20 bodies, do you think it matters?
No.
What about if a woman has it?
No.
You don't think it matters? Why is that?
No.
Why is that?
That was before you. That's not your business. That's not your business.
Okay.
It is controversial, and I will not date people based off of this.
Okay.
If somebody makes it a point to make a big deal out of a body count, you're not for me. And it's an automatic no. I don't care how much we get along, how handsome you are, how much money you make. It's an automatic no. Because that doesn't make your worth. That doesn't make your worth as a man, even though guys like to count that as something special, and it doesn't make your worth as a woman. Your decisions before are not something that is their business.
So
your relationships before are not their business either.
Okay, but so as a guy, and most men, when we look at women, we base their value off of their sexuality, right? Mm-hmm. So like.
Well, I don't want to date somebody who looks at a woman that way.
Well, that's most men. They might not tell you that.
Then it cuts out a lot of problems for me automatically by doing that. I saved myself time right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and debate with you about which one, if it's more important or whatever, because everybody's different. But
if you don't have a lot, I think I said this before, if you don't have a lot, if it's like one, it might be an issue for me if you've had one other person, because I worry about how well mentally you are and how well you're able to communicate in relationships if you haven't really had relationships and you've never been to that point. When you're like our age, right? That could be an issue.
You like clingy guys?
No.
You don't?
No, I told you.
So body count might matter then, because if a guy's never had, let's just say you got like one body or two bodies, he's probably gonna like
stage 5 clinger.
Yeah, he's gonna probably be super clingy.
Yeah. Well, and obviously he's not experienced enough in relationships to know how to do something. So that could be a mental health issue. Okay. So too low maybe. Other than that, no, it doesn't matter. If you have a lot, then you're experienced, and maybe things will be easier in some aspects. If you don't have a lot, it doesn't really matter to me.
So if a guy discloses to you that he's been with like 100 women, it's not
I
gonna
don't
matter.
really care. No.
It won't matter to you?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. Better be clean. Better show me a
Okay.
test. But like, no, it does not. It does not matter to me. What matters to me is how you treat me and how you are in our relationship and the trust we have. That's what matters to me.
I can respect that.
Yeah, and
because I've never asked a woman. I've never asked a woman like,
Yeah.
you know, how many dudes you been?
I've
with?
had guys, many guys ask.
I don't think as a guy, I don't think I would really want to know because I think it honestly, because to
You'd rather
guys it
just
does
not know.
matter. It's kind of it's gonna be one of those
Okay,
things.
so it doesn't matter if you're willing to overlook the question so you don't have to know.
No, I'm in agreement with that. So I'm not gonna argue with you about it
Yeah.
because I'm just telling you how most guys think.
But if
for
you
me,
knew it could.
For me, it's like I just don't want to know. I just rather not talk about it. Now,
Okay.
if you ask me, if you ask me like, hey, how many women you been with, I'll tell you, and I won't care. But it will be one of those things where it's like, why does it matter? But for me, like, I'm not gonna ask a female how many people she's been with because I just don't want to know because
You're causing yourself your own heartache. Basically.
Yeah, because if she's I'd rather not. I'd rather
You
just
are.
because if I talk to you, I assume that you're a pure woman, right? So now if you
Pure. Oh, we're gonna talk about purity.
when I say pure, meaning like my pure, the pure I'm talking about is not necessarily just like sexually pure. I'm talking about just pure soul, pure like you're a good person, right?
Okay.
And,
okay. I get what
And
you're
so if you start telling me like, oh, like I've been with 60 guys, we're gonna have to dive into that, like how did you end up being with 60 guys? You know, I'm gonna start asking these questions. Like, I'm not gonna be like, I mean, I'll say it. Like, I dated a stripper, you know, and I'm not saying that because she was a stripper that she was out here, you know,
Hoeing it or something.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
you know, like we talked about.
People's assumptions would be that.
Yeah,
I
and
would
you know,
assume.
like as a guy like who dated a stripper, we talked about this too. Is that where they're like, how did you trust her? You know, and you know that's a whole different conversation. But when people knew that I dated a stripper, they just naturally assumed that I'm dating a whore, and I'm like, dude, like.
When I tell people I refuse to have that conversation and I will never tell you my number, they assume I have a high number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
not,
do.
and I don't
No,
really
I'm
care. I don't really care if it was, but I'm just saying they make assumptions. I learn
Yeah,
about
for
your
sure.
psyche with this when I put this out there on the table with the men I date. I learn about their psyche. Where do they put their value in?
So maybe when you talk to a guy, maybe or a guy approaches you, like in your first conversation, you'd be like, "So do you want to know how many people I've been with?"
No.
No. Just saying, you should be like, and then if he's like, "Yeah, I want to know," then you should be like, "What? See, not for me."
No.
No,
It's if they're the kind of person that's gonna bring it up and ask it and insist on knowing it. You know.
So if you've been with a guy for a couple years, let's just say y'all been together for a couple years, you've been married, he'd be like, "Hey babe, you know, I'm just curious. Like before me, like, how many guys were you with?" Would you tell him? Y'all married.
No.
You think it might push him away or make
No.
him judge you?
No.
No. Okay.
Not that at all. No, if he's married me, he ain't judging me.
So why not at that point? Why not if you guys are already like that comfortable and you guys are? Why not tell him
If
that?
we were actually married, maybe we might have that conversation, but there's just no point. How important is it to you
No,
to know?
that's what I'm saying,
How
like,
important
not-
is it to you know? Like
That's what I'm
is it
saying.
really
Like,
that
it's not
important?
that he cares about it. He
If
just
he doesn't
like,
care, it don't matter then.
I see your point, but you're missing my point. My point is, let's just say hypothetically, right? Let's just say you've been.
I
together-
don't believe that in relationships that you need to disclose everything in your life to the person.
No,
I
no,
used
for
to
sure.
be that way. I'm a very honest person. I own what I do, right and wrong, and I have no problem just telling people about me, right? And with age, I've learned that some things are better left unsaid, even if there was nothing wrong with it,
Okay.
because you're just creating insecurities and people like. I used to be very open with my husband, like, oh, I just got hit on, and then this guy asked for my number, and this happened, and if anything, I kind of just was like seeding insecurity in him. And do I need to tell him? I said no.
Yeah.
I don't plan on nothing. Like, I don't need to sit there and reiterate that. By the way, I'm very wanted. You know, some stupid shit like that. Basically, excuse my language, but I look at it that way in a lot of things. I don't need to sit there and tell about my past relationships. I don't need to tell about my sexual experiences. I don't need to, whatever. What matters is what's here. And because it can create insecurities in people that you don't know that they might have. Like
So
you said, not knowing the number would be better for you than knowing.
So I have a question for you, actually, and you're not going to expect this one, but
Okay.
so if you remember the episode 1, you were here,
Yeah, I was
right?
here. Yeah. Behind the
Off
scenes.
camera, yeah. So you remember the debate that I had with the girl Mo on the camera?
Oh, telling him everything. What did I say to her?
That's what I want to know, like because me and my brother had a conversation, and I'll tell you about that afterwards.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
what was your take on all that?
she's young and a little naive, and you don't need to tell him everything like that. Why are you sitting there telling this man about all your sexual conquests, and then now he's going to expect the same thing out of you that you were doing with somebody else? It really doesn't matter what you did with that other person. What matters is what you did with the person.
So do you think that my response to her was wrong?
No, I see your point in it. Like, how is he going to expect? And I see where she's coming from, because a lot of women think the way she does.
Yeah.
She was okay. Let me reiterate that part.
Go ahead.
She was saying that the other guy was just for sex, and they were just having fun, and she was doing all these things, right? And then, like, sex in the car, in the parking lot, they got excited and couldn't wait, and there was passion there, and they wanted to do it. Okay, makes sense. It happens. But when she was taking the other guy serious, she didn't want to do those things. She wanted to be more proper and conservative. But then she told the other guy about these things that she would do before, and he's like, "Why not me?"
Exactly.
Okay. I feel like even if you're taking a man serious, if you want him that bad, do it. Who cares? I think a guy decides if he's going to be with you, it don't matter that you're being super conservative. Unless you were just that conservative woman, then in that case, you probably should have been doing that all the way around. Or you don't need to be telling them. That's what you were talking about? So what I'm saying is don't tell him if you're not treating him with the same kind of,
correct.
And even then it doesn't really matter. Don't tell him. You don't need to tell him. He don't want to hear about some other guy doing things to you. Let's be real. And you were saying he don't really want to know, and now you've put this seed in his head. Like, why does this guy get all this and I don't?
Exactly.
And I can totally see where you're coming from, which is why I'm on the whole wavelength of you don't need to know. You don't need to know. It has nothing to do with what we have. And a lot of women are taught, like, if hold out for a guy you really like and all this. It was embedded in us young, especially as older women. But then this new generation is a hookup culture, so people are embracing that as well. And so you're sitting here trying to balance these two, and you don't know what you're doing. And it's like you are, you're not. I don't know. It's a whole thing that I think that's really messed up relationships in general in this situation.
So
women think that way. They think they
in
need to be
conclusion,
conservative.
you'd say that I was right.
Yeah. I think don't. She should have just shut up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was
Sorry,
messed
Mo.
up.
Sorry, Mo. I didn't mean that disrespectfully.
Super messed up for you to expose a guy.
I'm gonna do all this for him, but not for you. But I like you more than I liked him.
Exactly. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Not at all.
In closing, I appreciate you coming and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Sorry about the trauma. Sorry for your loss.
You as well.
And for everybody out there, if you are battling with any kind of thing, just don't be afraid to speak about it, to open up, reach out to your support system, and mostly just don't be afraid to talk about it. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Leave in the comments what you think about the episode. Subscribe, like, share it to your friends as always, and you guys have a blessed day.